Winning Cures Everything. Now for your hosts, Gary and Chris.
Welcome in. Winning Cures Everything. It is Monday, September 14th. I'm Gary.
And I'm Chris.
And we have got much to discuss today because we are knocking out recaps. So we used to do these on Sundays and Mondays and all that kind of mess. We're going to streamline it all into the same show this go round. If you want to see all of our college football content other than recaps and whatnot, you can find us over at sbrpicks.com/NCAAF or on the Sportsbook Review YouTube page. We are live from there multiple times. Thrall Danica said, let's go. Elbow cough. Yeah, there you go. So, lots to discuss. We have a lot of people that have jumped in already. Go ahead and discuss this before we do the rundown. Terry said, where's that hat? And I got the hat right here. Let's talk about the no-no real quick. I didn't plan on discussing it for long, but the Cubs, that's the first time in, a couple of decades?
Yeah, it's been a while since they've had a no-hitter.
Not bad.
It's strange that it happened on a day in which nobody in the world cared.
Yeah, first weekend, first Sunday of NFL football. And
people in Chicago, as this happened, Mr. Trubisky was leading the Cubs, the Bears, on a game-winning drive. They could not have cared less about this.
Yes. Now, there were some. Obviously, Terry's one of them. Let's see. Thrall Danica said, do you think that Detroit threw the game away on purpose? No, not at all.
No.
I'll tell you what
happens when you draft Swift.
Well, no. There's that aspect of it, but allowing Chicago to come back was simply they lost their top three cornerbacks to hamstring injuries throughout the game. Like,
they
Okudah was out already.
Up.
But
yeah, they were. I was about to say Okudah didn't start to begin with. They were injured already. Listen, you spent a second-round pick on a guy he's going to be able to do some things, but there's a lot of things he's just not going to be good at.
You are correct. Let's go ahead and do the rundown real quick. WinningCuresEverything.com is the website. Make sure that you are subscribed at all the proper locations. If you missed the live show, you can always get the podcast. It is anywhere that you get podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, whatever. Make sure that you leave a nice 5-star written review for us over on Apple Podcasts. We would certainly appreciate that. Share the show out. Tell your friends about it, all that good stuff. And, again, all of our college football content is over at sportsbookreview.com, sbrpicks.com/NCAAF, and, of course, the Sportsbook Review YouTube page. We will have our pick show live tomorrow afternoon. We go live for the closing line show on Saturday mornings at 11 a.m. Eastern. We have a lot of fun over there, so make sure that you go check them out. They got a great crew, great staff, a bunch of good writers. We've got a lot of good information from those guys, and their NFL show is pretty good. Donnie and Kyle do a fantastic job with that, so make sure that you check them out. And Chris, let's go ahead and dive into Terry said 2016 was their last no-no. We all know what happened in 2016. Terry Brewer said everybody cared. It was the greatest thing that happened on Sunday. Zamora said, I don't remember seeing you guys make a picks video. Yeah, we did last Wednesday. So every Wednesday we will give our NFL picks. We have a pick show that goes out on Tuesdays at Sportsbook Review for college football, and our NFL picks are on Wednesday right here. So you can check it out. Zamora said, do you think the Titans will cover tonight? I need them to win a 14 parlay. 3 points is a lot. It needs the Titans to cover 3.
Yeah, I mean, I can see it happening.
Yeah,
I can see it
possible.
not happening, but I can see it happening. I mean, the Broncos have a lot of injuries.
Yes, they most certainly do. But, with that said, Vic Beasley's out and Adoree Jackson's out. We'll see. I don't know about the Titans' defense. And, of course, we've talked in the past about, the whole thing with going to Denver, first game of the season. You hadn't had a lot of prep.
Well, Denver's the worst place you want to go on the road when you haven't had a real training camp.
You are correct about that. Let's dive into this NFL Week 1 recap. We're going to kind of fly through some of the games. Some games were more interesting than others, so we will spend more time on those. But we'll try and hit every single one very quickly, even if it's just a score read. Seahawks beat the Falcons 38-25. Not really anything to discuss there. A lot of offense. Falcons still cannot stop very many people. I mean, if you look at who they beat at the end of last season, people
until
were talking.
That Lions game, I felt really good about my first coach fired.
Yeah. There you go.
The Lions are worrying me. That's going to be a problem if they can't reel off at least 2 wins in the next 2 games.
It might be.
It's going to be an issue.
It might be an issue, but we'll see. We'll see. With that said, Dan Quinn, obviously a lot of problems here. Everybody, all these Falcons fans wanted to chirp at us and tell us that the Falcons were different. They were going to the playoffs this year, et cetera, et cetera. That the defense,
old Falcons.
They said that the Falcons defense had come back and had figured things out. Look, here is the truth. The last 8 games that you played last year, you split with the Saints. You beat San Francisco after they lost 3 games, or after they won 3 incredibly tough games. Packers and whoever else it was. It was the Saints and somebody else. It was a tough stretch. You caught some lucky teams. You split with the Bucks. You beat the Jaguars. The Falcons played nobody at the end of the season. So I think they beat the Panthers twice. Hey, give me a break here. I think this is kind of a problem if you're losing game 1 at home to a West Coast team at a noon kick, even if it is the Seahawks. So, and another interesting thing about this, it won't stay long on it, but the Seahawks threw a lot more, especially in early downs, than they have in a long time. You think maybe Pete Carroll was fooling us with all of his talk about running the ball?
So no, I don't think he's fooling us, but he definitely threw it more. So there's been all offseason, Seahawks Twitter has had a hashtag going around, let Russ cook. And
they let
Pete
him cook.
Has continued to address it, saying we're not going to stop running the football. But he let him cook a little bit. Okay. It's like me and my 6-year-old, every now and then she wants to make brownies. All right. Well, we going to Betty Crocker this thing for a while and just put a box brownie together because you don't really know what you're doing. It's like Pete's letting him do a little bit, but he's still Pete Carroll. I'm going to tell you, as soon as they play a real opponent, I'm curious to see when you're able to beat the shit out of somebody like they were the Falcons. I'm going to judge it differently when they actually play somebody and the game is tough and it's tight. What does he trust Russ doing?
Terry said the Falcons always suck. Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, so far, here's the deal. The Seahawks had 35 passes. Russell Wilson completed 31 of them. Had 4 touchdowns, 299 yards, 322 if you take away the sack yardage, of course, obviously. Yeah. But yeah, and then rushing the football, they had 20 rushes for 84 yards, which ain't bad. That's a 4.2 average. They gave up 450 yards passing to Matt Ryan, but yeah.
A lot of that was garbage time.
Oh, it's absolutely garbage time.
This game was out of hand. See, this is why you got to watch these games. You can't just look at box scores because the Falcons offense didn't even get going and looking great until late. And when you're down 14, 15 or 14 to 20 points, it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
it just doesn't matter at that point in time.
You
do whatever you want
right
in the fourth quarter. You're not coming within 2 scores.
Jets and the Bills, 27-17. The Bills get the win. Nothing much to say here. Josh Allen looked a lot better when he has a deep threat. John Brown looked good catching the football. Everything about this was about what we expected. I mean, this defense is legit.
Josh Allen had some throws that just were as bad as somebody can possibly throw it that gets paid to throw a football. I don't think that's going away. I I think the Jets are really bad. I think the Jets could be the worst team in football, not win a game.
Yeah. I don't think they're awful, but
I think they're pretty awful.
I think the Bills are a lot better than the Jets are. I mean, and it was only a 10-point win, so it's whatever. But the game was out of hand early. It was 21-0. I mean,
so at one point in time it was 21-0. So
yeah. Bears and Lions. This was probably the most exciting game of the day, I guess you could say. Bears end up getting the win, 27-23. They outscore the Lions 21-0 in the fourth quarter, and came about because your top 3 cornerbacks were out of the game by the fourth quarter for the Lions. Now, that doesn't excuse them not being able to score. We can talk if we want to about DeAndre Swift not being able to catch that pass, which was
they had the
perfect
score
pass.
They had the score for the win.
Yeah, and
he just drops it.
Just unbelievable. Adrian Peterson, of course, defying all age limits and all whatever. Just just ridiculous. 14 carries, 93 yards for the Lions, and I think he was added to the team, like 2 weeks ago? I mean, it's just ridiculous.
Well, he's a running back. Running backs don't – I mean, literally you could change running backs every game to a different team. The play calls don't change anything.
Yeah.
So let me tell you what I heard today, okay? So I listen to Mike Wilbon talk a lot. I love Wilbon. I follow him pretty closely. And he says there's a local Chicago guy that analyzes a former Bears player that's on local Chicago TV that does the best job of analyzing football. And he said that Mitch Trubisky is one of the worst quarterbacks in the NFL throughout his history at being able to throw against his own defense. And as the Lions guys went down, they could no longer play zone anymore because they didn't have the athleticism to do it. And as soon as they switched to man-to-man, he said Mitch is great against man-to-man. And when I went back and I kind of started checking the box score and looking at plays and stuff on my phone to see what he was doing, he's 100% right. They switched to man-to-man in the fourth quarter because that's all they could do. And if I was a Bears fan, I would be real careful about getting my hopes up about Mitch being good. And this is probably the worst thing that could happen. This is one of those situations where just a really bad three-point shooter hits his first shot. The other team has got to be ecstatic.
Oh, yeah. No, you're exactly right about that. Chad Huey jumped in and said Ridley's numbers were in trash time. That killed me in fantasy. Said the Bears got a gift. I love it. And Terry said, please say y'all are going to break down Brady because that was bad. We'll talk about Brady. We'll get there. Yeah, with the Bears, yes, it's good to get a win, especially on the road against a division rival. But, I don't think the Lions were all that bad. But, man, when you got injuries like that, and they had injuries last year too, this is just not the way that you want to start the season. Matt Stafford, 24 out of 42, 297 yards, and he had guys with drops, man. It just, you don't like seeing that. I wish good things for Matt Patricia, but he just doesn't have very much of a roster.
I wish good things for Matt Stafford, and that's the problem.
Yeah.
At what point in time, if you're the Lions and you become sellers, is there a team out there that needs a quarterback? Like, it's weird to say, is there a team that's a quarterback away from being like a real contender this year? Rarely it's not, because if you don't have your quarterback, you're not in contention. But like, we're going to get to this game. If you're the Colts and Rivers is just bad, can you call Detroit up and say, hey, bro, like, we wear blue and silver. He wears blue and silver. Y'all aren't good. We're buying and you're selling. Let's see if we can make a deal.
I mean, that might not be a bad idea.
Because I would love to see Matt Stafford have a shot with a real team, man. And it's not a knock on the boys in Detroit. I like the Lions, and I want Detroit to finally got me. Hell, I'm a Browns fan, okay? I understand, all right? At some point in time, you want to see these teams that have been bad for decades finally have their chance at being good, but I don't know that stink is coming off.
I think you're probably right. I think you're probably right about that. Let's talk about the same division, and that would be the Packers going to the Vikings and putting a beating on them, 43-34. Look, the Vikings got it at least close. They scored 24 points in the fourth quarter, but good gracious, by that time it was done.
All I know is I thought defenses were going to look really good on Sunday.
Yeah, we were so wrong.
We're going to be bad. No, sir. There was no defense play. These are two teams that all they did was play defense last year, and their offense looked like shit.
Yeah.
And now both of these teams just said, we're just not going to play one stitch of defense.
It's remarkable, really. Aaron Rodgers, 364 passing yards, 32 out of 44. He had 4 touchdowns, a QBR of 93. Kirk Cousins, 19 out of 25, 259 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 1 pick.
Yeah. Not a bad day, not a bad game. I mean,
but by the time
stop anybody,
by the time that Minnesota really got their offense rolling, like they were down so far that it didn't even matter. I mean, it was. And this
looked like it was going to get out of hand early the other way. It was, I think, 10-3, and the Packers had gotten it 1st and goal from the 1-yard line, could not punch it in, turn the ball over on downs, 4th down, don't get it in. The Vikings get the ball back, so now it's 10-3 Vikings, but they got to go 99 yards. First play, they get a safety. Then the Packers score on that drive after getting the ball back, and then they just score. And that's when the floodgates open. Then they score, and they score, and they score. And it looked like if the Vikings could have gotten out of that hole and drove down and scored, they put that game away.
Yeah, I think you might be right about that. But, man.
I mean, it's a totally different football game.
Dante Adams is freaking ridiculous. 14 receptions, 156 yards, 2 touchdowns. I mean, he was unreal. Had 17 targets in the game. Marquez Valdez-Scantling, 6 targets, had 4 receptions for 96 yards. That's an average of 24 yards a catch. Had 1 touchdown. Alan Lazard, 4 catches, 63 yards and a touchdown. I mean, it's just across the board. You had, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different guys catch passes from Aaron Rodgers. We may have gotten this one wrong. They may have
maybe
weapons.
it's one game. I'm gonna hang out for a minute. I'm not overreacting to week 1 for the teams that look great, and I'm not overreacting for the teams that look like shit.
Yeah, it's the smart way to go about.
Spring training. We had no preseason whatsoever. Okay.
Yeah,
I'm reserving judgment now. He looked great, and they looked great. You know, are they the Ravens and the Chiefs?
Doubtful.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
doubtful.
Like a couple of teams look great. So
yeah, no, you're right. You are
and
right.
A lot of teams look bad, and I don't know that I'm killing all the teams that look bad.
No. There's no sense in it because it's week 1. It is what
and
it is.
There's some teams that look bad that I feel very comfortable saying they're done. They're done. We'll get there, and I'll tell you when we get there.
I don't think this would be one of them. The Dolphins did not look great, and the Patriots take care of them at home, 21-11. This was a slow, methodical. The Dolphins didn't even score until late in the fourth quarter, at least not a touchdown. I mean, they were down 21-3 at one point, I believe it was. Cam Newton, 15 out of 19, 155 yards. Didn't have to throw it all that much because they were able to run the football. 42 rushes, 217 yards. For the Patriots, that's 5.2 yards per carry. Had 3 rushing touchdowns. Cam had 2 of those. Sony Michel had 1. J.J. Taylor comes out. You and I talked about him yesterday in our group chat. Just undrafted guy out of nowhere, 5'6", comes out of Arizona. 4
Best
carries.
Back in the day.
28.
Sure. That's the only thing that made sense to me was the fact that somebody came out of this game for the Patriots that nobody has ever heard of. This dude's mama doesn't know he plays for the damn Patriots, okay? And he's the best running back on the team. We spend first-round draft picks on guys. We spend second-round draft picks on guys. You know what? I got this dude over here. Cost me a couple sandwiches. We're going to throw him in, and he's going to be everything that we need.
Yeah. I mean, it's bananas to
It's the only thing that's consistent in life is Bill Belichick is going to mess up your fantasy day.
Ryan Fitzpatrick, 20 out of 30 passing for 191 yards, 0 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. I think you can pretty much expect that from a Patriots defense. And Fitzpatrick getting on up there in years and whatnot. It's not time to bring in Tua yet, I don't think. But, they ran into the Patriots in week 1.
They played hard. They played hard.
And they looked okay.
Cam looked good running the football. Cam looked healthy. People freak out because they see the number. He called his number 15 times. I watched every snap of this game. I'm going to tell you, those are not 50. He did not get hit 15 times.
Yeah.
Okay. He just didn't. He ran a lot of option. He slid a lot. We've never seen Cam do that. When he saw someone coming, he jumped to the ground. I've never seen him do that. It's going to extend his career a lot. Many of those runs, he was untouched, got all the way out of bounds. He used to never run out of bounds, and he has never slid in his life. And he looked good doing both of them. And I'm going to tell you, we're going to be just fine. Bill Belichick is cheesing from ear to ear. This man grew up at Naval Academy. That's where he grew up. That's where he was raised. His dad was a coach there and on staff there for his entire life, childhood growing up, okay? He wants to run football. They didn't just bring Cam in and run a spread option, a spread offense the way they have. They are running a triple option offense. They just never hand the ball off or toss it. But Cam had the option to, and he just kept holding it.
Yeah, I mean, it
was a very, very true option offense.
Yes, it most certainly was. As far as Miami rushing, they brought in Jordan Howard, they brought in Matt Breida. Those guys, not great. They combined for 13 carries for 29 yards between the two of them. And the most surprising one that got the most carries, Myles Gaskin, who people just kind of forgot he was even on the team. 9 carries, 40 yards. He looked pretty good. He had 4 receptions for 26 yards. He was all right. Devontae Parker, only 4 receptions for 47 yards. Overall, I wouldn't chalk this up as too awful for the Dolphins.
growing pains for the Dolphins. Ran into a good team.
The Pats look good. Let's talk about your Washington football team 27-17 win over the Philadelphia Eagles. Before I even get into stats, go ahead and tell me what you think here. If you've been, I don't know how much I've said in our group chats as opposed to what I've actually said on camera. That's where I do struggle and run in sometimes to this. Ever since they hired Ron Rivera, I've been all over this team. I like them. I think they have a lot of talent. I think defensively they're going to be good because they've drafted just a metric shit ton of first-round guys on defense. All of them can't be bust. They've just never played in a system where anybody supported them at all. And Ron Rivera is one of my – we love gamblers. That's who we are at our core. Jack Del Rio was one of my favorite coaches to watch when he was with the Raiders. I was all in when they were going to Vegas because Black Jack Del Rio was going to be the man. When they hired Riverboat Ron, I thought this is where I feel like I'm built from the thing. Now, those guys are like worldly smarter than I am football-wise, and just the level of toughness, I could be a Cabbage Patch doll compared to them, but I feel like our souls are connected. I feel like I see the world the way these guys see the world, and I want so many good things for them. And I believe this team is going to be good. I told you, I think this is going to be I didn't have the balls to pick them to win the division. I should have, because every year a team goes from worst to first, and you just got to find out what team that's going to be, right? Yeah.
This might be that team. I know you think I'm crazy. I know you think it's insane. Every year we see it. Why can't it be them? Why not?
I mean, the offense has some work to do. I'll say that.
Very, very glaring weaknesses. The fact that Haskins went into halftime and said, Coach is fighting cancer right now. He's hooked up to an IV getting meds right now because he had chemo this week, okay? So I got the meetings. I got the team speech. I got the adjustments. Man, that's big. I think he has some holes. I think he has a lot of growing and developing to do. But that says a shitload about his character and just the strength that guy's got. It just unbelievable. That's impressive to me. He didn't do anything to lose this game. If they can get good at everything else, we've seen many of teams win with bad quarterbacks. Is he better than Trent Dilfer? Is he better than Brad Johnson? Because I've watched quarterbacks like that with my own eyes win Super Bowls. Why can't it be them?
Maybe you're right. I think the game has changed a little bit since we last saw that.
Yeah,
but
100%. A little of this is hyperbole. I love these guys. I like this team a lot. I'm in. I'm in. I really enjoy watching them play football. And I called this, and I put my money where my mouth was. I didn't just pick them to win and cover the spread. I pick a lot of teams to win and cover the spread. I picked them to win outright. I bought several tickets of money line action on them, and everyone said, that's going to lose money. I sent it out to 25 friends in a bunch of different group texts, and not one person thought it was legit.
Yeah, everybody just automatically assumes that Washington is going to be awful. But, man, Philly is in some serious trouble. I mean, serious trouble.
When the sun rises tomorrow, the Washington football team will be the number one team in the NFC East, standing alone.
Yeah, I think. I mean, I don't think you're right. You're pretty much right. Unless the Giants find a way to beat the Steelers tonight, that's going to be correct. They'll be the only undefeated team.
They will stand alone at first place.
Carson Wentz,
I don't think they give it up quickly.
Carson Wentz looked not good. Not good.
I will tell you this. I've been on that bandwagon for a while.
Oh, I know.
And I'm tired of it. Finally, today is the first time I have listened to all my NFL recap podcast. Today is the first time I've ever heard any of these people question the holiness of Carson Wentz. And I'm thinking, it took you this long? What has he done?
Well, he had
half a season where he looked unbelievable. Yeah. People are just hanging on to hope that was really him and that wasn't a mirage.
Yeah. No, you're right. Joseph Gomez said 70% of the Eagles' offensive players were hurt or got hurt, but I don't think it would have made a difference if they played.
And Washington was 100% healthy?
They were not. They were not.
Okay.
So Matt Miller said, hey, what did I say about the NFC West? I said it was the best division in football. I think all four teams could make the playoffs. They might.
Hang on. I think you are. I heard Bill Simmons on his recap with Cousin Sal talk about that today. I listened to it from last night. Because we have the third that third wild card, I really think that's going to happen because two from the NFC East ain't coming. I don't think two from the north are coming anymore. I used to think that. And I don't think two from the south are coming. That's not true. That's not true. I am not counting out my Tampa Bay Buccaneers yet.
We'll get to them here momentarily.
Could happen. I was wrong. That is the best division in football.
Let's stay in this noon slate. The Raiders 34, the Panthers 30. This is kind of what we figured. The offense I thought would look really good. Hey, Darren McCardle jumped in, said, love you on SBR. That works. Sir. We appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, the Raiders game and the Panthers, it's kind of exactly what we expected. The defense is young. The offense was going to be able to score. Joe Brady was going to be able to put together some stuff to make sure. I
was super impressed.
Yeah, I mean, the game plan on offense was great. The defense could not stop Vegas, and that's exactly how this season is going to go. I mean, I think
that's every game, but I'm telling you this, I kind of thought they'd get their butt kicked because I didn't think their offense would even be this good, though, because it's new. It's a completely new offense in a weird COVID system. You got a new quarterback, a coup coordinator, and you're not close to running the same scheme that anybody on that offense has ever ran before.
That's not necessarily true. Teddy has been with Joe before. Like, they were both together on the Saints. So at least you've got
Joe Brady had a minor role on the Saints. Can we please stop that?
I understand where you're coming from, but it is a very similar a scheme to what Sean Payton
He was
runs.
an assistant to an assistant. He was a part-time employee, Gary.
Okay. I'm just saying.
They both had the same badge to get them in the same building.
Yes.
That's about as close as they ever worked.
Well, so 22 out of 34 for Teddy Bridgewater, 270 yards, 1 touchdown, 75.5 QBR, not bad. Christian McCaffrey had 96 yards rushing for Christian McCaffrey, 4.2 yards per carry, had 2 touchdowns. He also had 3 receptions for 38 yards. Robbie Anderson, I'm not going to say coming out of nowhere, but he has overtaken DJ Moore as the number one receiver. Oh,
he has got speed. But this is Joe Brady's offense: is just line up a bunch of fast dudes and let them put the ball in their hand in stride. And let them be fast.
You got it. He had a 75-yard touchdown reception. Looked really, really good. Henry Ruggs, leading receiver for Vegas, and Josh Jacobs was the second leading receiver.
Yeah.
That's Ruggs got hurt right before halftime. Was not the same coming out in the second half. Didn't play a ton. Josh Jacobs. 93 yards on 25 carries, not a great yards per carry average, but 3 touchdowns. That'll do it for you. So
at some point in time, I think Gruden realized we don't need to score fast. We need to stop. We're not stopping them from scoring. Yeah. At one point in time, the Panthers took the lead, and I think that's when the Raiders' offense completely changed to. I don't know that we can beat them in a shootout because the team that has the ball last wins that. If I can just hold the ball. They were doing more very traditional run plays at that point in time just to keep, I think, the Panthers off the field.
Yeah, you're 100% right.
I think Gruden changed his philosophy when he realized I might not just be able to beat the hell out of this team. I think if we score real fast, I think there's a chance they're just going to keep scoring real fast.
And they did. They took – so Vegas took about 4 minutes to score their last touchdown.
Yep. Best thing that Gruden did all day.
Yeah, that's the one that got him the win, got the 34-30 lead. Carolina came out the next drive, 5 plays, 24 yards, and turned it over on downs, and that was the ball game. So, that's the way it goes. This was a hella exciting game, very interesting to watch, and I think we're going to have a lot of exciting Carolina Panthers games. And same with the Raiders because they can't really stop anybody either.
That's it. These teams are a lot alike. I think 100%. The Raiders are better than them, but from top to bottom, but they're not too far apart the way they're made.
You are correct. Moving on, Indianapolis goes down to Jacksonville and loses to a team that everybody seems to think is tanking. This was
give me the stat line.
Well, Gardner Minshew, 19 out of 20, 173 yards, 3 touchdowns. He had 5 carries for 19 yards.
I would like to apologize to Gardner Minshew.
That's pretty good.
All last year, I didn't pick against them. I never picked against them. If I saw a place where I could bet on the Jags, I picked them. If I didn't, I stayed away from them. Go back and watch the tape. I never picked against them.
You're right.
Because I really like Gardner Minshew, and I don't like betting against people that I like. And in this week 1, I thought they were tanking. I thought they were getting rid of players. I thought they weren't going to try. I knew Doug Marrone was a good coach, but I thought they just weren't really setting him up for success. And
well, they weren't.
I was wrong.
I mean, that's the deal.
I was just wrong. I think Gardner Minshew has got a set of balls on him that nobody in the league can carry. I'm going to repeat. No quarterback. Nobody in the league can carry.
My boy Laviska Shenault, 3 catches for 37 yards and a touchdown.
Looks so good too, that touchdown catch.
Yes, he does.
So good. So this team's going to be fun. Let's talk about the bad.
Let's talk about Phillip Rivers. 36 out of 46. That's not a bad stat line for 363 yards. He had 1 touchdown, but you throw in 2 picks, that's going to get you in some trouble.
I defended all his picks and all his erratic play from the Chargers the last couple of years because bad offensive line play. He's constantly running scared, running for his life, and always playing from behind because the Chargers just can't ever get a lead, keep a lead. And so he's in these high pressure situations where he's trying to be all things to all people and force the football. And he just can't do it consistently without turning the ball over. That was my argument for him. I think I just made all of that up because I think this is him, because he's got now a great offensive line, plenty of time to throw the football. And at no point in time were they really like out of this or trying to come from. They had the lead when he started turning the ball over.
Well, let me give you. So one, Marlon Mack went out with the torn Achilles.
No, it doesn't matter.
But no. I'm not saying that matters. I'm bringing that up.
Okay, yeah.
But I think what does matter is that because the offensive line was in fact so bad with the Chargers last year. This is what we talk about with the rookie quarterbacks all the time, right? If you put them in too soon with a bad offensive line, they get happy feet. They can never regain their confidence in the pocket because they lose that trust, right?
So you think Rivers just doesn't know how to play behind a good offensive line?
I think it's been a little while, and I think
it's been a while.
I think in this spot it takes a long time to build that chemistry with your offensive line. I don't think he's quite there now. 36 out of 46, that's not bad.
His stat line wasn't terrible. It's the turnovers. It's the turnovers.
But there are little instances here and there where you get a little bit, happy feet. You start kind of relying on your arm, and he's been known to do that over his career. But it was really bad last year.
Last year was the worst he's ever been.
I think it's going to take a little bit for him to really fully get comfortable and feel at home with these guys because there just hadn't been a ton of practices.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope you're right. I watched that game, and all I kept thinking is Jacoby Brissett is probably going to be in the quarterback by week 4.
Well, I will say this: Brissett came in for 1 play and got sacked. So,
yeah, you blitz a guy. He didn't get sacked because he was holding the ball too long.
And no.
They threw a blitz at him. He snapped the football. He got tackled. That happened.
You got it. All right. From there, we will finish off the noon slate, and yeah, the Browns, not very good. 38-6, the Ravens win at home, and it was a bloodbath from the word go. Lamar Jackson, 20 out of 25, 275 yards, 3 touchdowns passing, had 7 carries for 45 yards.
Hang on, what was that? What was it again? 3 touchdowns what?
3 touchdowns passing.
Passing. Everybody questioned this guy can't be a quarterback. Gary Seegers questioned this guy, said he can't throw the football. I ain't going to believe it until I see it. My boy can throw the football.
He can throw a little bit. He can absolutely throw a little bit. So Hollywood Brown has 5 receptions, 101 yards. Looks good. Not injured.
So fast.
Willie Snead, 4 receptions, 64 yards. Mark Andrews, tight end, 5 receptions, 58 yards. Miles Boykin, 3 for 37. I mean, he was passing the ball around. It looked good. Everything about this was good. So Robert Griffin even came in some garbage time and completed a 9-yard pass. So that ain't bad. J.K. Dobbins comes in, 7 carries, 22 yards, 2 touchdowns. Not too shabby. Overall, a pretty good day. I mean, they only had 3.6 yards per carry rushing the football, but the Browns could do nothing. I mean, Baker Mayfield, 21 out of 39, 189 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. He got sacked twice. He could do nothing. I mean, there was nothing that they could do. And I don't think that the Browns are that bad. And I think a lot of it has to do with how good the Ravens still are. Because, the Ravens are a hungry football team. After they got knocked out in the first round last year, the divisional round, I think they were hungry in this game. They wanted to come out and prove a point. And
I
think
did. This team wants to win every game.
Yes, I think so.
And I'll tell you this, it won't surprise me if this team wins every game.
Darren McCardle said, easiest money I made going against Baker.
Yeah. So, all right, when we first started, I went on a little rant, and I said, listen, I'm not going to overreact to week one, and I'm not overreacting. I haven't overreacted yet. I said the teams that look good, I thought they were always going to be good. And the team that look bad, I'm not going to kill anybody for looking bad. There's only one team that I think is done. I think Baker's a bust.
I think you might be right.
I said this last year, week 3. This guy's not good at football.
Like, he looked
this
great.
Guy's just not good at football. And we got to all blame it on Freddie Soup Kitchens. Well, now we don't get to blame it on Freddie Soup Kitchens anymore, okay?
Agreed.
At some point in time, we have to be responsible for our own actions and our own bullshit. And I don't know that he's good at football, because I know the guys on that team are pretty athletic. I know that they can get open, and I know that he can't hit them consistently at all. He gets happy feet. He has bad mechanics. He's just not good. I'll tell you this. He's got an opportunity against the Bengals, because that defense ain't great.
Yeah, no, it's definitely not. But I'll have to see it to believe it. I'll have to see it to believe it, because I think the Bengals are going to beat them. David Njoku.
I do too. That's what I'm saying. I think there's one team. If you said, who can you definitively say after week 1 is not good? I think the Browns are not good after week 1.
Yeah, I think you're right.
I think that's the only team I would completely write off right now.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. Kareem Hunt looked pretty good, 5.5 yards per carry. Nick Chubb, 6 yards per carry. I mean, they combined for 132 yards rushing on 23 carries. That's pretty good against that Ravens defense.
No, they ran the ball well. They ran the ball well. Where did they do bad? Everything that Baker does, they did poorly.
Yeah, pretty much. That's the way it goes. Let's move into the afternoon slate. We had, the afternoon and the evening. We've got 4 games.
4 games.
Chargers, Bengals. Joe Burrow in his first start out and looked like he was going to win the game. Ridiculous offensive pass. I mean, it may have actually been offensive pass interference, but
I don't think it is. And this is not me covering for my boy. You know that I consistently, I'm fair when I judge these things. I don't think you can be that nitpicky with push-off if you allow hand fighting, because it's not possible to hand fight and not extend your arm. And the whole game, they didn't call PI or OPI the entire game. The entire game, that wasn't a grab the arm, pull the guy down. They allowed hand fighting all game.
Yeah.
At the end of the game, they called it, and they called it on the Bengals.
You got it
right.
But
Joe Burrow looked like his blood pressure didn't get above 120 the entire final drive. And I'm sitting on my chair just wide-eyed and sweating and just stressing out. And this guy, just as laser and systematic as he could, took them down the field. Boom, 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 all the way down, and had the perfect pass. Yeah. I don't know what you do. I don't know what you do with that.
And then, of course, the kicker misses the – let's talk about this. The quarterback play was not great on either side. Joe Burrow was okay, 5.4 yards average per pass. He was 23 out of 36, 193 yards, a QBR of 20.2. He threw 1 pick, no touchdowns. He did run in a touchdown. He had 46 yards rushing on 8 carries.
I was just about to say.
Yeah. Tyrod Taylor, kind of the same thing, 16 out of 30, 208 yards, no picks, no touchdowns. You know, it wasn't great. Austin Eckler had 84 yards on 19 carries. Joshua Kelly, 12 carries for 60 yards. He looked pretty good. Justin Jackson came in, got 2 carries for 4 yards. Not great. But all of this comes down to a kick that would have tied the game, and Randy Bullock was 2 for 2 on the day up until that last kick. He misses a, 31-yarder? And he immediately grabs for his was it the left calf?
His kicking leg, yeah.
So he grabs his right one. So he reaches for the right calf, and he says that he got hurt and all that. And then he goes in today and he tells the Bengals that he hurt his left calf. So the Bengals have put him on the injured list as questionable with both calves. They're saying that both calves are hurt now. It looked like this dude faked that injury.
If I lost a game-winning drive like that our rookie quarterback just took down, and I cost the team the game, I'm grabbing something too.
It was pretty ridiculous. Pretty ridiculous. Let's move on. New Orleans Saints 34, Tampa Bay 23. Tom Brady didn't look great. 23 out of 36, 239 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks. QBR of 34.6. That was not a good thing. Bruce Arians came out today and said that both interceptions were on Tom Brady. He
thought that was interesting because that first interception sure as hell looked like
it was on Mike Evans. Looked like you made the wrong route.
Completely ran the wrong route.
And instead, it turned out that Brady threw to the wrong route, that Mike Evans had, in fact, run the correct one based on the coverage. Drew Brees didn't look a whole lot better. 18 out of 30, 160 yards, 2 touchdowns. His age is catching up with him.
That was the Alvin Kamara show.
Oh, absolutely.
Alvin Kamara took over that game.
5 receptions for 51 yards and a touchdown, 12 carries, 16 yards and a touchdown. He got in there when he had to get in there.
Yep. So the Saints are the best team from top to bottom at every position, and they have more depth than anyone else in the league. This is the most talented football team. I think this is a team that if Matthew Stafford and Drew Brees swap places would be the biggest favorite to win the Super Bowl, and I don't know that it's close.
I think you might be right about that.
And that is knowing that the Ravens and the Chiefs are out there. I think this team is a healthy, strong quarterback away from being unbelievable.
Ben jumped in and said he would rate his performance as a D in the interview after. Let's see. I think he's talking about Baker. And then Joseph Gomez jumped in and said the Bengals need 3 more years. Think Green Bay when Aaron Rodgers took over. Maybe. I mean, talking about Burrow. Sticking back to the Saints team, yes, they are fully loaded. I thought it was interesting that Shady McCoy came in and then went right back out. He is completely done.
He ran the wrong route as well. Yeah. And Tom even pointed that way. And he immediately cut in. It's just like, I don't know what you do with that. I don't know what you do with that. Hit him in the head? With a helmet?
I mean, you got to come up with something. So Damian jumps in. He said, Tom Brady's not the GOAT when he can't win anything without Belichick. And Darren McCardle said Belichick 1-0.
43-year-old. We're going to judge a 43-year-old man his entire 21-year career off of one game against probably the best team in football. That's right. That makes complete sense, guys. That's thinking as logically as anybody has ever thought about this game without any bias or hatred whatsoever.
It's Overreaction Monday, man. That's what we're here for. You go on the road, you play against at least the best team in the division, and you lose the game. Well, obviously you are no good.
And all 21 years and 6 Super Bowls are just all fluke. They're just a mirage. It was all lucky.
Well, yeah, obviously, because that Belichick's gonna win another one this year with Cam.
He probably is, and that's fine. that doesn't negate all of the what Tom did.
Now you're right about that.
He's a 43-year-old man.
Yes, 100%.
Every day he takes a snap, he's setting an NFL record. Because Vinny Testaverde is the only player that ever played close to this age, and he was trash.
Yeah, and he was definitely
Tom's
not a starter.
Already broken all those records.
Let's move on to the West Coast game at this time. Jimmy Garoppolo loses with the San Francisco 49ers. The Cardinals come from behind, get the 24-20 win. Cardinals scored 14 points in the fourth quarter. Kyler Murray, 26 out of 40, 230 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick, 85 QBR. He had 13 rushes for 91 yards, and man, he has got some explosiveness to him. He is unfreaking real. I mean, it
was good. It was really good.
It was unbelievable.
I would tell you this. I want to see this 49ers team with a healthy Debo and a healthy Ayuk.
I was curious what the Hopkins experiment was going to look like. Obviously he got paid. Ben jumps in and said Arizona will win the West. Maybe a little too much hype right now. Let's just hold on a minute, give it a couple of weeks, and let's just see. But DeAndre Hopkins had 14 receptions for 151 yards, had 0 touchdowns, but 14 receptions for 151 yards, that ain't bad, man. That ain't bad at all. So I'll take that all day long.
That's right.
So their offense looked fantastic. I mean, cheers to Cliff Kingsbury and whatnot. That 49ers defense had trouble. I mean, they had all kinds of trouble with them. Budda Baker, who we talked about in the offseason, had 15 tackles. Led both or tied with Emmanuel Mosley, but 15 tackles led the team by more than double. I mean, Devondre Campbell had 7 total tackles after him. And then, it was Jordan Hicks and Chris Banjo, Drake.
Well, Jimmy G was bad, and they got no weapons at all outside of Kittle. Kittle got hurt in this game at the end. That sucks. I
don't know, man. Mostert's pretty good. I mean, he's kind of a burner.
You put 8 people in the box. Who are you afraid of him throwing on you?
Well, that's the thing. Mostert was the leading receiver. So 95 yards. He had a long of 76.
But that's the issue is their entire offense are 2 running backs.
Yeah, I mean it's pretty insane.
That's a problem.
It is most certainly a problem. It is most certainly a problem. Philip Wiggins jumps in. Said, how about DeAndre Hopkins? I believe he can play with any quarterback. Yeah, I think that's the truth.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, he has. He's played with a lot of shitty ones before Watson got there. So.
You got that right. Darren McCardle said 49ers against the Patriots in the Super Bowl. I mean, we'll see.
No chance.
Still early.
No chance. It's a really early.
Damian said, I know it's the early Cardinals and Ravens Super Bowl. Toss in all of these predictions.
Well, yeah, you say anything you want.
Like, whatever you want to say.
Just keep down the Mississippi mustache. Just keep doing it.
We're
going to have a Jacksonville, Washington Super Bowl, and y'all all going to look like fools, and I'm going to look like a genius.
This is unbelievable. We have spent a long time on the NFL. Let's close out with the Sunday night game. The Cowboys 17, the Rams 20. You, I believe, called this one correctly. Although the offensive pass interference at the end of this game,
ticky-tack, and I think was bad call.
Very bad.
You don't call it the whole game. This was more of a PI than the other one, but you didn't call it all game. You can't call it here. That's just all my problem is if you're consistently calling this and you're riding these guys, then that's fine. But if you're not calling it the whole game, you can't say it's the end of the game. We got to call it.
I mean, the one at the end of the Saints-Vikings playoff game last year was worse than this.
Yes.
Kyle Rudolph just straight hand. Yes. I mean, give me a break here. Either way, Zeke comes in 96 yards rushing, 1 touchdown. He also has 3 receptions, 31 yards. Amari Cooper has 10 receptions for 81 yards. CeeDee Lamb in his debut, 5 receptions, 59 yards. Dak Prescott was not bad. Not bad. 25 out of 39, 266 yards, 1 touchdown, and a QBR of 73. Jared Goff, 20 out of 31, 275 with 1 pick. Malcolm Brown is the go-to back for the Rams now. Had 18 carries for 79 yards.
That's what it looks like.
Cam Akers had 14 carries for 39 yards. Darrell Henderson, our Memphis boy, 3 carries, 6 yards. Not great. So the Rams, I will say this. The Rams did nothing to really impress me, but the Cowboys did even less to impress me.
I'm telling you, I wish I had the stones to call Washington for the division earlier, because after that game, I'm just not afraid of this vaunted offense of the Cowboys, and their defense really isn't that good.
Yeah.
I think the Rams' offense wasn't really impressive, and they kind of scored when they needed to.
It kind of blows my mind a little bit. The Rams had 5.9 yards per play. The Cowboys only 5.5.
These are supposed to be 2 amazing offenses. Not really. The Rams, I don't know that we're amazing offense, but it just wasn't. Yeah. It just wasn't great.
No,
it didn't impress me. It didn't scare me at all.
You have got that correct. Damian jumps in. He said, Nuclear Skull said Texas State took me down with the old one-team bad beat, costing me a $460 payout on a 10-team parlay. Well, that, my friend, is your fault for betting on Texas State. We can't bet on Texas State when you got that much money at risk. Come on, man. Good gracious. Let's dive into the NCAA.
A little bit of college.
This is we're not going to spend forever because there weren't a ton of great games. We will roll through the top 25 to start off with. Clemson gets a big win over Wake Forest. That was, it's a big win, but they also did not look exactly dominant either. So, I mean, we'll see what they're going to be. They were up big, and then they let Wake Forest score 10 points in the fourth, and they didn't score at all. So, is what it is. Oklahoma gets a massive win, even though they were down like 20-some-odd players, 48-0 over Missouri State. Bobby Petrino, still not great now. It's going to take a little time to build that there. Spencer Rattler looked really good, 14 out of 17, 290 yards, 4 touchdowns, whatever. Notre Dame, 27-13 over Duke. This is exactly what I thought it would be. Notre Dame going to take a little time. I will say this about Notre Dame. It terrifies me that they do not have anybody on the outside receiving that you are scared of. They do not have a super fast guy, and you kind of going to need that. right? I mean,
you're going to need that when you play Clemson.
But that's the only
when
thing
you're
that
going to play
matters.
Wake Forest or Duke or any of the other slums that they're going to work their way through with the ACC.
They're going to waltz through every other game other
they're
than
going to get
maybe
smashed by Clemson because they don't have that outside threat. And
the North Carolina game is going to be interesting.
Interesting. That'll be a great game to watch.
Yes, I agree. Duke, I think, looked a little better than I thought they would. Chase Bryce had 180 yards passing in the first half. He looked okay. He looked like he was running exactly what David Cutcliffe wants to run on offense. Texas destroys UTEP 59-3. North Carolina beats up on Syracuse 31-6. That game was a lot closer than it should have been. If you look at the yards per play, if you look at just all of the advanced statistics in this game, it should have never, ever been this close. Sam Howell throws 2 picks. He kind of looks like what Trevor Lawrence looked like early last year, where it was just, okay, we're just kind of going through the motions. Let's figure this thing out, and we'll get in there. Ben jumped in and said, Army in the playoff? Probably not, although it would be very, very entertaining. Darren McCardle said, one good and big with Arkansas State. Yeah, you got that right. I won that one. Early looks this week, Nuclear Skull said Pitt minus 19. Let's see, UL Lafayette minus 13, Notre Dame minus 27.5, Charlotte. Hey, look, cheers to that. We've got our opening line show that's over at Sportsbook Review. It's going to be on the YouTube page that we'll be doing later. And then Ben said Sunbelt Power 5. Well, I think this year it's like Power 4, right? I mean, it's just ridiculous.
We've got a Power 5. We've got the ACC. We've got the SEC. Then we've got the American. Then we've got the Sunbelt. And then we've got the ACC, and then we've got the Big 12.
Nuclear Skull was saying that was a $10 bet on a 16 parlay that Texas State cost me the 4-inch. He said they came back and scored 21 points in the fourth. Oh. That makes sense. Yeah, okay, that kind of sucks. That definitely sucks. So it is what it is. I was trying to figure out exactly what the early looks were and all that kind of mess. So Louisiana, let's go ahead and talk about this game.
Boom.
Louisiana, we both hammered this one. We both made pretty significant paydays off of this because we thought that this was Billy Napier's time. Now, we thought it would be a lot closer than this, but 31-14 over Iowa State. Brock Purdy was not good whatsoever, but there was one play in this entire game that was over 20 yards, and that was the long Levi Lewis pass, and then they had 2 kick returns for touchdowns, 1 punt, 1 kickoff return. And the speed difference between Louisiana and Iowa State was just...
Louisiana is a faster, bigger, stronger, and faster football team than Iowa State.
It was... I'll tell you this. I don't know that it was even necessarily close. Louisiana was the better football team. Just
top
overall.
to bottom.
This was not fluky. This was nothing like that.
At every position, everywhere on the field, they were better.
Ben says, do you think Billy Napier will be at South Carolina next year? I will say...
I wouldn't hate that, but I think he's holding out for a bigger job.
Well, I don't know. I mean, you come at him with $5 million a year for 5-6 years, and he's from South Carolina. So,
the problem we're going to run into is anybody really getting fired after a year of COVID?
We'll see. I mean, Jay Hobson at Southern Miss already did.
I agree with that. I think there's always going to be some moron.
Well, no, you have to look at it this way. If South Carolina realizes, okay, this guy's a hot shot, he is from this state.
Billy Napier, but we got to take him now.
We got to take him now.
This is one of those conversations where you got to have a good talk with the coach and the agent without anybody knowing about it.
Yeah. I mean, pretty much.
Because if Napier doesn't take it and you can't make the deal done,
then you
can't let your coach find out.
Yeah, you cannot get rid of Muschamp if you can't get Napier. So you got to make sure that's good.
But you're right. I would say this. I would love it. You know how I feel about the Gamecocks.
Nuclear Skull said Louisville plus 1.5 at home against Miami.
Has that line? No, it can't be. If it opened at Louisville minus 1.5, there's no way it flipped that much.
Yeah, there is no way that it's
Hang on,
flipped.
I'm almost there.
Yeah, I'm checking it as we speak. There's no way that line moved that much. There's just no way. I am still seeing it at Louisville.
Refreshing.
Louisville minus 1.5.
So I'm seeing Louisville 2.5 now.
Let's see.
Everywhere.
Louisville minus 2.5. Yep.
2.5 everywhere.
Yep. Yeah. That's wherever you're getting plus 1.5. Cheers to you, brother. Cheers to you. Darren McCardle said, "What is with the Florida fire? There was a fire at Ben Hill Griffin Stadium." and it was a golf cart that caught on fire. Structural damage, nothing. It's just a golf cart, so no big deal. It was funny to watch the Twitter reaction on Saturday though. Charlotte and App State. App State wins 35-20. This one, Charlotte was able to do some interesting things here, but you go and look at the success rate and all that kind of stuff. App State missed out on 2 scoring opportunities deep in Charlotte territory. This game should have been an absolute bloodbath, and Chris lost to cover by 2 points because App State could not convert in the red zone 2 different times. So that's the way it goes.
Yep. I did not have a good day Saturday.
No, but we're going to have those sometimes. I mean, I
had a spectacular morning where I hit 2 big dogs and the money line. And then after that, it was just downhill.
You got that right. West Virginia, easy win over Eastern Kentucky, 56-10. Arkansas State, let's go ahead and talk about this one. 35-31 over Kansas State.
That was the other one.
Arkansas State is a fantastic football team. They lost at Memphis the week before that, but you could see that they were right there. And that Adams kid, man, golly.
So good.
Just
so good.
Yeah. He is unbelievable. It's the wide receiver, Jonathan Adams, from Arkansas State. You need to go back and watch some of these highlight catches that he has made.
Big, fast, athletic, strong receivers.
Yes.
Mike Anderson is just pulling them out.
Blake Anderson.
Yeah. God dang it.
Mike Anderson.
I'm never going to get this guy's name right. He lives 2 hours from me, and I'm never going to remember his name. Jesus.
Well, he's been there for 7 years. You would think that we'd be there.
I know that. You would think I know him.
I will say this. Arkansas State decided on defense, we are going to stop the run, period. We are going to load up the box. And Kansas State.
I don't know how they did it.
Kansas State could not.
Kansas's offensive line, I thought, was just going to manhandle them in the trenches, which I thought could keep this game close. But they couldn't manhandle Arkansas State in the trenches. They're going to struggle.
Yeah. Yeah.
Arkansas State is not known for the hog mollies they got on defensive line.
No, they are not.
They are going to really struggle when they get into league play.
Nuclear Skull said, I got those lines off Circa yesterday. I haven't looked at the changes today. I think you looked at it wrong, or Circa had the line wrong, because it was Louisville minus 1.5 to open up with. Darren McCardle said South Alabama cost me money, had them big on the money line. They won big till they lost with defense. That's Tulane for you. Once Tulane figured out what South Alabama was doing on offense, they shut them down. They had, I believe I read this correctly, they had like 40 yards on the last 32 plays of the game.
Yeah.
And Tulane just said, nope.
They averaged almost a yard a play.
Yeah, it's just ridiculous. Nuclear Skull said, I expect the Dogs to continue to have their day in week 3. And Ben said that South Alabama ending was interesting. Well, we'll say this. It cost me a cover because Tulane was obviously better than that football team, and they just couldn't get it together early in that game. But we'll talk about that momentarily. Army gets a big win, 37-7 over UL Monroe.
One more score. Have some pride about you, Louisiana Monroe. One score, I win this game.
You had them, what, plus 19?
No, I had them plus 22.
Yeah. The early line that you had was plus 19. But, yeah, you ended up betting at plus 22 because it just kept growing. But, yeah, one more score, and you would have been there, and couldn't get it done. UTSA 51-48 over Texas State. That one was fluky as crap to begin with. Tyler Vitt ended up playing in this game. He's the quarterback for Texas State. UTSA had 350 yards rushing on like 40 attempts. I mean, it was absurd what UTSA was able to do on the ground. Texas State, not a great defensive football team. SMU was not able to do anything against them because SMU can't run the football. Texas State's secondary, okay, but Texas State's cornerback, their best cornerback, their NFL draft, looking cornerback, was out for this game. Brady McBride, their quarterback that kept them in that SMU game, he was also out for this game. So, you just got to pay attention to who's playing this week. It's the whole thing's weird. Georgia Tech beats Florida State on the road 16-13, and it was weird. And Georgia Tech should have beaten them worse than they did. The biggest thing that I took away from this game was the offensive lineman that came in. He was a freshman. They came in for Florida State. When he was in the ballgame, they scored 10 points. They scored on both of the drives that he was in on. They were moving the football. They looked great. And then he went out with an injury, and they completely fell apart. Now, all of that has to do with offensive line depth. It also has to do with James Blackman not being a very good quarterback.
I was just about to say, does Blackman start again?
Yes, because they have nobody else. Chubba Purdy is out for the year. Well, out for a while with an injury, and he was supposed to be the heir apparent. Jeff Sims is a guy that was committed to Florida State, and then Mike Norvell comes in and tells him, we don't really want you here. So he goes over to Georgia Tech, starts immediately, and he is the future for Jeff Collins in that bunch. I will say this. The Georgia Tech love, maybe hold off on it just a little bit because they are playing UCF at 2:30 Central Time this Saturday on ABC. Might want to hold off on that because I think UCF is going to be really good. But, Georgia Tech does have a game under their belt right now, and UCF does not. And we know all about the first game jitters and all the mistakes and all that kind of stuff. So we'll see what happens. But Georgia Tech looked pretty good. They scored 9 points in the fourth quarter to get the win. And, man, you talk about, just weird numbers, weird everything. This game lasted like 6 hours because of lightning delays and everything else. It was a strange game. Campbell and Georgia Southern, 27-26. I'm not going to talk much about that. Georgia Southern had 33 players that were not able to play in this game. So Darren McCardle said UCF will win by 14. I kind of think that.
I kind of think so.
Philip Wiggins said Jimbo Fisher ruined Florida State. That's a lot to do with it because they have not been able to get offensive linemen in there. If you don't have guys in the trenches, you cannot win games. It's just the way it goes. Ben brings up Houston Baptist quarterback. Yeah, I'm gonna get to that. That was a late night game. Citadel and South Florida. South Florida was able to run the ball, but man, they could not throw the ball on the Citadel, and Citadel's awful. 27-6. So that South Florida and Notre Dame game, a lot of people right now betting on South Florida. I would stay away from that, but if I'm going to go away, I'd probably go Notre Dame. Tulane 27-24. I think we already talked a little bit about that, but Louisville wins over Western Kentucky 35-21. And man, I called this one correctly. I thought it would be around this score. I said Louisville would win by 2 touchdowns. Louisville could not run the football on this team whatsoever because that's what Western Kentucky does. They got some guys that are going to be in the NFL that are on that defensive line. But Western Kentucky, this game should have hit an over. It should have done all kind of things. But Mikhail Cunningham, he can throw the football a little bit. Louisville can score. Scott Satterfield can score. Did you watch this game, Chris?
Very little.
I wasn't sure if you were able to catch on it or not, but man, it was fun to watch. It's a home state rivalry, all that kind of stuff. Yep. I'm gonna touch on this one right quick. That's that Texas Tech Houston Baptist game. Houston Baptist quarterback was 30 out of 49, 567 yards for 4 touchdowns. His name's Bailey Zappi, and they were freaking unbelievable. Texas Tech could not stop them, and it came down to a failed 2-point conversion at the end of the game. Otherwise, this game was going into overtime. They put up over 600 yards of offense on the Texas Tech defense, and it's exactly what I was saying in our show on SBRpicks.com early in the day. Texas Tech was starting 4 guys that just joined the team 2 weeks ago. Yeah. You can't come up with any kind of a scheme. They're not going to even know what they're running. However, if this kid put up 567 yards passing on 49 attempts, they play Sam Ehlinger next. Yeah. What's Texas going to do to him? Sam Ehlinger is, as it sits right now, the most efficient passer in the country. He put up massive yardage on UTEP the other night.
He's played against air.
Wait, yeah, but this it looks like Texas Tech's defense is air. That's exactly
I was about to say he's going to play against air light. Yeah.
Let's see. Nuclear Skull jumped in. He said just went to Circus Sports and the early line was minus 1.5 for Miami. He said it's still up on the site, but the line did flip. That's why on a normal year. I think
it was just a typo.
I really think because everywhere else.
It opened everywhere else that we've seen is at minus 1.5 global. So our good friend, colleague, which he doesn't know that we alive, but Dan Wetzel talked about the breakdown of this game. He was like, listen, don't overlook Houston Baptist, okay? I've been to Houston. There's a lot of Baptists there. They got a large player pool to choose from, and some of those guys got to be able to play, right? This is like when America plays Panama in soccer. It's come on, dude. We have 300 million people here. Surely we can find 17 people to staff a soccer team that's better than those 200,000 people down there, right? Yeah. It's just a numbers game. Somebody's got to be good at football from Houston. That's Baptist.
You would think so. You would think so. Now,
found
typically,
one. We did. We found them. They are.
I will say this: Houston Baptist put up 27 points against North Texas. The issue with that was that North Texas scored 50.
Zappe,
well,
North Zappa or whatever the hell.
Zappe, Zappe, Bailey Zappe. But yeah, Houston Baptist got beat by North Texas the week before, 56-27. So, I mean, cheers to them for, being up for this game and whatnot. But Texas Tech, lucky that you got the win. But, man, at Matt Wells, you better figure some stuff out before the Longhorns come into town. Now watch them go out and beat Texas next. I mean, you could totally see that happening. Finally, we'll hit on this. Pittsburgh 55-0. The only thing interesting about this win over Austin Peay was that they had a running clock, and they changed the quarters to only 10 minutes in the second half. Did you see this?
No,
it was like a high school game.
We had a skunk rule.
I've never seen that in college football. So,
we had a mercy rule. Does the other team have to concede to that?
Yes, I think so. It was 42-0 at the half.
We would like 10-minute clock and
the clock to just run. Yeah.
Can we run it double time? The way I listen to my podcast and books on tape is just 1.5 times.
Pretty much.
Can we just speed up
the clock? Speed up the clock. Like, this game's over. Yeah. We just want to go home. Where's our check? And we'll kindly get out of your way.
That's right. Did they dock their pay?
No, I don't think so.
You didn't work all the hours you're required to work.
Good gracious. Nuclear Skull said App State -3 at Marshall this week should be a good game. Yeah, that's one of our biggest
We're
games.
Excited
Watch
about
tomorrow.
That game. That's probably our favorite game on the board.
Make sure that you watch tomorrow on the Sportsbook Review YouTube page. 5:30 p.m. Central Time is our big flagship show. That's our pick show. That is one of the biggest games that we will be discussing this week. Joseph Gomez said, I didn't know you could play against Hydrogen. Yeah, apparently you can. And Hydrogen is called Texas Tech. Finally, I wanted to end with this one before we talk about the Big Ten mess. This is a little longer show than normal, but we appreciate everybody hanging out. We got some massive numbers today. We appreciate all you guys being in here.
Thank you, guys.
Coastal Carolina goes to Kansas, and this is, Coastal Carolina had 15 spring practices. Kansas had 0. Coastal Carolina had a massive number of returning production. Kansas did not. Kansas had like half the team not coming back. This was rough. I mean, it was 28-0 before Kansas even got on the board with a field goal. I have to believe that Les Miles' press conference afterwards. Did you listen to the press conference?
Yes.
I mean, he is just, he's bonkers. He's absolutely bonkers.
I'll tell you this. We got a little advice from somebody who loves you. I would die for you. If you need a kidney, you can have it. Okay. I got 2. I'm not doing anything with one of them. We gotta lose the shoe polish. You gotta stop. You gotta stop. You are a 60-year-old man.
Yeah.
Your hair should not be jet black, brother. We gotta stop that.
Yeah,
somebody has to tell you. Somebody who loves you needs to tell you. We gotta stop.
That Kansas defense, by the way, should not have at all let that offense run all over them the way that they did. It looked like they had never even prepared for this spread option, this triple option, with a passing element to it. The Jamie Chadwell runs, it's like they didn't even look at film. It was insane. Now, I think the biggest thing, obviously, here, Kansas's offense is predicated on the run. If you're turning the football over and you're giving up those quick scores, you're not going to be able to run the football. They ran well, 25 carries for 150 yards for Kansas, but you can't run the football when you get behind 28-0. So it's kind of an issue. Ben jumped in. He said, Les Miles is a fraud. I demand a clarification.
Why has he got to be a fraud?
He's not a fraud.
Can he just be older and not good or lost a touch on his fastball? Why he just got to be a complete fraud?
Or he's at Kansas. Nobody wins
Kansas.
at Kansas. Mark Mangino won at Kansas, but even he didn't win every year. I mean, good gracious. Nuclear Skull said, today at the grocery store, the girl was stacking the books, offered her $5 for the college football athlon, telling her half the teams aren't even playing, and she took the $5. I mean, that book is pretty much outdated at this point. I mean, there's no sense in it.
There's no information in that.
There's no information.
I could have typed you one up real quick for $5.
Terry jumped in. He said, you need to hit on that no-no a little more. Look, it was great for the Cubs. Cheers to them. Hey, look, that's a big-time thing. But when you
I love baseball.
When you do
right
it
now,
when football starts.
Call me when the Yankees lose again. It'll be next week. tomorrow. They play today.
Yeah, something like that. Something like that. All right, we'll close out with that. Let's jump into the Big Ten mess. And so Saturday, it comes out that, hey, the presidents are going to meet again. It looks positive right now. Everything looks great. And this was on Saturday, right? Everything was great. Everything's wonderful. They're getting together again on Sunday, and all the medicals look great. I think we're actually going to get a football season. This is awesome, blah, 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 blah. And then they meet on Sunday, and nothing ever comes out. And then they meet again on Monday, and nothing ever comes out. And that's actually what I'm looking for right now if we have any kind of news, and it does not appear so. But you've got reports, again, that are just all over the board. Brett McMurphy comes out and says, hey, it's either all the teams are going to play or none. My source tells me everybody's playing or nobody's playing, period. And then you've got Dan Patrick and some other guys coming out that are saying, well, I'm hearing that Michigan, Michigan State, and Illinois and Rutgers may not play, but the other teams will, or you could have half and half or whatever. Like you're hearing all these different things. But then let's see, I'm looking forward to the Brett McMurphy tweet, because one of the chancellors came out and said that it is going to be all or none. I mean, it's period going to be all or none. Wisconsin Chancellor Rebecca Blank today said, I will say we're all going to move together in the Big Ten. We're all going to play or not if we possibly can. This isn't going to be a school-by-school thing. However, we are now at 5:40 p.m. Central Time on Monday. They started talking about this early on Saturday, and we still have not had a vote. We still have not had any kind of news. They are talking about a possible date of either October 10th or October 17th. At this point, it looks like it would more be like October 24th. If that is, Ben jumps in and said, time to purge the Big Ten's officials. If they are going to play, they have to come out and decide something very, very quickly in order to have enough time to get ready, because some of these schools are not even, like, they're not practicing, they're not there. Like, the NCAA came out and said that these Big Ten schools and the Pac-12 and whatever, they're not doing 20 hours a week of football like they typically would. They're doing 12. You got to get back into football shape. You got to be able to tackle. You got to be able to get in and get this stuff set to go if you're going to have a season. And if they are wanting to get in so that they are able to get into the college football playoff, how can you possibly say that it is fair if these teams only play 6 or 7 games, and then you've got SEC teams, ACC, whoever, who are playing 10 or 11? Like, now, I don't expect all of them to play 10 or 11. Don't get me twisted here. But, like, if you've got an LSU team that is 8-1 that played 9 games, and their only loss was to Alabama, but then you've got an undefeated Ohio State team that's 7-0, but they got to dodge, what are you going to do here? You have got to figure this out if you're the Big Ten and get in there and take care of this. Chris, I mean, have you thought at all about this? I'm so irritated at the Big Ten.
I told you, I'm out. Call me when they're going to play. I don't care about any of this. We're meeting, we're not. I say I don't care. I care. I want them to play, but I don't care about the theatrics of it anymore at all. I just don't.
I'm so confused at what the purpose of this actually is.
I don't know that they're giving anybody, like, there are people who it's their job to report news. Okay. Yep. And we talk about the news of this sport. Nobody's getting any news. They're just making noise.
Yeah. You're getting different reports from all different directions. It is absolutely absurd. Tyrone Davis jumps in. He said, "What's up?" Looks like he just dove in for the end of the show. But yeah, I'm so irritated. So Shaun Wade, defensive back, likely first-round draft pick out of Ohio State, he announced this morning that he is opting out. And there were several reporters that had a field day with this because his dad was one of the main ones. He led the protest at the Big Ten headquarters for the kids to play. Now, it's funny because these reporters are saying that he was protesting so that his son can play. That was not the case. Randy came out and said, and that's Randy Wade, that's Shaun Wade's dad. He came out and said that he is wanting all of the kids to play because this is an opportunity for them to advance their career, and they are not getting it, like, because of all of this mess. And it drove me nuts seeing all these people that, I can't believe he's opting out right when they're about to get back to playing, and da-da-da. It's like, he's likely going to be a first-round draft pick anyway. Like, it doesn't matter if he plays or not. Tyrone came in and said, "What do you think about Notre Dame?" I think that they don't have any burners on the outside. I think they got a good running back and they got good lines. We'll see. You know,
I think they're pretty good.
I think they're going to beat everybody on the schedule except for Clemson and maybe North Carolina, but either way.
I think they'll beat everybody on the schedule but Clemson.
But yeah, the Big Ten mess is still a mess. It is, and if they were going to get back to playing, I would have felt like they were getting back. They would have voted today because there is a time stamp on this. I mean, it's September 14th, so you got to figure this thing out now. Ben said, "Did you guys happen to notice how bad special teams were on Saturday?" Yes. Look, college football overall is sloppy.
Very sloppy.
Now.
Very
it's
sloppy.
Gonna be.
And it's going to be for a couple of weeks.
NFL was kind of
NFL
sloppy.
is going to be sloppy. Very sloppy.
Nuclear Skull said Ralph Michael at Cal Sports has a good free chart on how many practices these teams have had. So far, those with 5 practices versus teams with none have been a winner. Well, it's close. I've heard that stat. It's actually 6-2 against the spread if you've had 5 more spring practices than the team you're going against. But it has to do with, like, if it's the first game that you've played and all sorts of other stuff. So, but yeah, you can go check that out for sure. If you can find that spreadsheet, that database, and all that good stuff, it's something to pay attention to because it has proven to be a winner thus far. 6-2 against the spread is not too shabby. Chris, is there anything else that is happening that we need to hit on?
That's it, brother.
That is it. Let's go ahead and get out of here. You guys have been fantastic. Make sure that you jump over to the Sportsbook Review YouTube page. Make sure you are subscribed over there. Our college football coverage will continue over there. Our opening line show is going to happen this afternoon, so you can go find it over there, of course. And tomorrow, our pick show, our big flagship show. We're going to discuss all the biggest games, and we're going to give you our official picks. We have got about 24 hours left for us to actually research these games and make sure that we've got the picks down that we want for that show. We're also doing a closing line show over there on Saturday mornings, but all of our college football stuff we'll knock in. Nuclear Skull said, good show. Catch you next time. Appreciate it, brother. This is the first time I've noticed you in here, so make sure that you are subscribed to our channel as well. You guys have been absolutely fantastic. Thank you for jumping in and staying in for this entire time because we've had some big-time numbers today. We appreciate you guys. Go over to winningcureseverything.com. Make sure you are subscribed to the podcast, all that good stuff. Chris, my brother, I appreciate your time as well, and I'm looking forward to knocking this out again tomorrow. You guys take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. We'll see you tomorrow. Thanks for checking out Winning Cures Everything. If you want to keep up with us, hit subscribe on YouTube or your favorite podcast app. Visit the website at winningcureseverything.com, or you can like us on Facebook or follow us at Winning Cures, at Gary WCE, or at Chris B. Giannini on Twitter. Share out the show, leave a nice review, and make sure to comment and